but it's really important to have light in your eyes. If you don't have light in your eyes, we call it dead eyes, it actually decreases the trust. If you want to make someone look like a serial killer on film, you light them from above without any sort of light in their eyes, so their eyes look like hollow sockets.
Welcome to the Agents of Change, the podcast experience you've been waiting for your entire marketing career. Search, social, mobile, AI, blockchain, and neuromarketing. These are the Agents of Change, and so are you. Digital marketing success awaits, and your transformation begins now.
Welcome to another episode of the Agents of Change podcast. This is a podcast where we help you reach and engage more of your ideal customers online so that you can grow your business. My name is Rich Brooks. I'm your host, and this is episode 548, powered by the 10th annual Agents of Change Digital Marketing Conference. The majority of guests on this podcast come from one of two ways. They either complete our guest intake form and go through the process that allows us to vet them and their experience, or it's someone I know, a friend who I know delivers the goods and has a strong expertise in some element of digital marketing. But occasionally, I just stumble upon someone and think, I'd like to talk to them. They seem interesting, or they said something I hadn't thought of before. Today's guest falls into that third category. I know I discovered him on LinkedIn, but I can't now remember why his content was shown to me. Regardless, I watched one of his videos and knew he would make for a great guest, that he would have a lot of value to share for you, and I wanted to pepper him with questions. Before we get to that, just a quick reminder that time is running out on our summer special for the 10th annual Agents of Change Digital Marketing Conference. And of course, because this is a podcast and you're listening to it on your schedule and not mine, it is possible that the summer special has expired, but you'll want to visit our website to find out for sure. And we do have other discounts even when the summer special is done, which ends at the end of August. The event itself is going to be October 9th and 10th in Portland, Maine. We've got 15 digital marketing experts from across the US and Canada coming to Portland that day to share their best marketing tactics with you to help you grow your business. It's a lot like this podcast, except it's live and in person. Ask the questions that you want to ask rather than waiting on me to ask the right questions. Network with like-minded people. Meet your next employee or your next employer or your next customer over breakfast, lunch, or at any of our networking breaks. We're tackling a wide variety of topics this year, including AI, social media, SEO, chatbots, and more. We're also going to be taking a look at the big picture and how you can better attract and serve your customers. In fact, let's hear about that right now from one of our speakers, John Jantsch.
Hey there, I'm John Jantsch with Duct Tape Marketing, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you at the Agents of Change Conference. I'm going to be talking about a really important topic. Important to me anyway, should be probably important to you, called rethinking the customer journey. You know, we're all, as marketers, get really excited about all the changes in marketing, all the platforms, but you know what's changed the most is how people choose to buy, how they find the companies that they're going to do business with. And we're still throwing the marketing funnel out there. I want to suggest that the marketing funnel is dead, maybe getting deader, and that we have to think about guiding the perfect customer journey. I created a tool called the Marketing Hourglass that addresses behavior, organizing behavior rather than creating demand. There's 7 stages: know, like, trust, try, buy, repeat, and refer. And we are going to unpack that thing together. I hope you'll join me. I'm looking forward to it.
Again, this is an event you will not want to miss. So head on over to theagentsofchange.com right now and reserve your spot. And speaking of right now it's time to check out this week's interview.
My guest today is co-founder of the Soho Creative Studio and creator of the 3C Method. He merges world-class acting techniques with top consulting communication frameworks to create high-quality, engaging content. His background spans the U.S. Navy, an MFA in acting, and 20 years in photography, acting, and on-camera coaching. As a business communication educator at UNH's Paul College, he emphasizes storytelling and emotional resonance. With over 15 years of experience with Fortune 70 CIOs, he fosters innovation and deep connections in high-stakes setting, believing in the power of human connection. Today, we're going to be leveraging all of that experience get a better understanding of how to make powerful videos for your digital marketing campaigns with Michael Cinquino. Michael, welcome to the podcast.
Rich, thanks for having me, man. I'm very happy to be here.
So you were a Navy rescue swimmer, an actor, a professional photographer, quite a diverse skill set. How do you feel that all of these experiences shape your approach to video marketing?
What a great question. So they didn't for a while, actually. I used to think that having a bunch of different interests were a disadvantage and not an advantage. And I picked up a book called The Portfolio Life by a woman named Christina Wallace. And she's someone who's what you would call a multi-hyphenate, kind of like me. You've been a little bit all over the place. So the time came when I actually decided to go, well, wait a second. These things kind of all in seemingly different places are actually an advantage. So from a video marketing perspective, as you kind of laid out in my bio there, I've been a little bit all over the place. So how it helps me in video marketing, there's one really, I think, a core reason, and it's something that we always use to work with our clients. One of the things I believe about video marketing, or really communication in general, is that you have to be predictable in structure, but unpredictable in delivery. Meaning there needs to be, of course, some structure, and there's not just one structure, there's many. There needs to be some structure to what you're saying, but at the same time, there needs to be some spontaneity and unpredictability. And I like to say you've got to give the audience something other than information. Because if it's just information delivery, we don't really need to be here, you and I. There's no spontaneity to what we're doing. We could just send an email back and forth or write a memo or a book. So to answer your question, the way it helps me in video marketing is that I look at it really in a twofold way. One, I look at it from the perspective of an actor. And actors are really good at being predictable in structure, i.e. a script, but unpredictable in delivery. They don't really know how those lines are going to come out. Good actors, at least. But in business, in video marketing, you're not necessarily an actor, you're a business. So how do you apply this to business? And I like to say, enter Barbara Minto. Barbara Minto was a consultant, the first female MBA consultant at McKinsey & Company back in the 1960s. And she created a communication framework there because she realized that the communication was inefficient. And the reason why it was inefficient is because these consultants were writing 30 pages of a memo to eventually come to a point. And she said, look, our clients don't have time to read 30 pages to figure out what the point is. So she created something called the SCQA framework and Minto pyramid. It's really two parts. SCQA stands for situation, complication, question, and answer. It's a pretty basic storytelling framework. And then her idea of this pyramid structure means you start with your main point, and then you give supporting points and then supporting data underneath that. So whenever we attack a video marketing campaign, this is the framework we use. So we encourage our clients to use this framework, but at the same time, there's got to be some give, some spontaneity. It can't be by rote. You have to leave room for things to, quote, go wrong or for happy accidents to happen. So that's it. That's a long answer to your short question on how all of this stuff has come together to help me in video marketing.
Well, I like how you remembered where we started, because I had completely lost the thread. I was so fascinated by everything else we were saying. I discovered you, I believe, I just saw one of your videos on LinkedIn. You were holding the camera, you were talking to the camera and talking to us about how to create better video. And I kind of felt myself pulled in. So using this pyramid method, like when you're creating your videos that are self-promotional, and I don't mean that in a bad way, do you have like editorial calendars all planned out? Or do you wake up in the morning and say, here's an idea that I should share with my audience, and just basically grab your camera and turn it on yourself?
Okay, so the answer is yes, and no and no. So I've got a couple of things that I do. So I've got an initiative on Instagram that I also share to LinkedIn sometimes called Deep Thoughts on Walks. And it's literally just that. I walk basically every morning, and whatever comes to me in that moment, that's a deep thought. Usually it's like kind of like shallow thoughts on walks. But nonetheless, I always try to share something useful, a thought that's come to me in the morning. And there's common themes around personal development and communication. So I am in that realm. So that is something that is consistent but spontaneous. And then on the other hand, for a content calendar, yes, there are some things that we do that are very structured campaign-like things that I've recorded before. And we're using a platform to send that stuff out onto social media at certain points in time. And then with my podcast, I've really gone all in, a multi-hyphenate mastery. So that is actually also has a content calendar, is very strategic. So the answer is yes and no and no. It just depends on the channel. I'll be very honest, Rich. I'm not someone where planning content strategy comes natural to me. It's something that I continue to have to work on and go, okay, let me think 6 months here. Let me think 12 months. How can there be a progression here? What does this look like? What's the beginning? What's the middle? What's the end? So for those things, I really do have to bear down and think strategically and get out of the tactical mindset.
So if a business, I think most businesses these days and the listeners of this podcast appreciate how important video marketing is in this exact moment in time. And yet, such a small percentage of them have either gotten started or are actively doing it on a regular basis. If people are in that stage, what are some of the things that they should consider as a way to get started? Or what are some of the first steps that they should take to maybe make this a regular part of their marketing?
One of the things that I've come up against is not that people are not competent, because they're wildly competent. But the biggest barrier that I see is the confidence thing. There's something about a camera. And I've spent the last 20 years either in front of or behind a camera with some of the best performers literally on the planet, and certainly some of the best teachers. And even the best actors, we get nervous when you hear that action. That's not a natural thing. So the good news here is that it's never been easier to create high quality videos, and you've got more filmmaking power on your phone than they had for Citizen Kane. And this is a really good thing. So I'd say the first thing I would suggest is don't worry about production value. Just let it go. It's not necessary. There's plenty, even large enterprise companies are doing very low production value kind of stuff. So I would say don't let technical stuff get in your way. You know how to do a video on your phone, you're good to go. I'd say so take that off. I would say also one of the things to think about is that one of the biggest mistakes we make when we get in front of a camera is to think it's about us. And it's a very natural mistake to make, because it's weird to have this thing pointed at your head and not be connected to a human being. I like to say that the camera is the great accelerator. It accelerates all of our insecurities. It just does, no matter who you are, no matter how traditionally attractive you are. It can be incredibly affronting. But if you focus on being useful and ask yourself the question, how can I be useful to my client base? What do they need? What can I share that's useful? That starts to get you beyond those nerves a little bit. And then, of course, in marketing, being very specific about who you're talking to, not just some imaginary person, but a very, very specific person. So for people that are not implementing video marketing, do one a week. Something, talk to your clients. Go to your clients first, listen with the intent to understand. Hey, what are you struggling with? What's going on? Can I take 10 minutes just to see what's going on? They're going to write the content for you. And then really all you're going to do is you're going to take what they said and share it to a larger audience. So I'd say, 1, don't worry about technology, use your phone. 2, make sure you're thinking about how to be useful. And then 3, when possible, let your clients, potential clients, write the content for you, because at the end of the day, it's in service of what they're trying to do.
So it's easy. That sounds good advice. In fact, it's great advice also for getting up on stage too, is just thinking about being useful. But I know that sometimes what trips people up is the questions that perhaps the experts hate answering. And that's about some of the fundamentals, like what camera should I use? What should I think about for audio? Like what is framing? So can you talk about maybe some of the basic building blocks of creating an engaging video outside of the content that we might be sharing?
Sure. So let's just talk technical stuff. From a framing perspective, authority lives above the top 1/3. That means your eyes should be above the top third of the frame as you put your camera down.
Listen, I'm a quick learner.
Same. In some senses, I am. It takes me sometimes a while, but I definitely learned. Yeah. So one of the things about framing, it's called the rule of thirds. So I would say make sure your eyes are living above the 1/3 line in the frame if you're horizontal. Same thing for vertical. You don't have to cut your head off. I'm just kind of cutting my head off right now. Leave a little space above your head, but make sure those eyes are above the 1/3. The second thing is make sure there's some light in your eyes. Okay, whether that's a window or a ring light. Now, for people with glasses, like you got here, Rich, one of the things you can do, people go, I don't want to use a light because it reflects my glasses. I got you. All you have to do is bring it up on a 45-degree angle to your left or to your right, or even right in front of you, coming down. Then you're going to get that glare out of your glasses. But it's really important to have light in your eyes. If you don't have light in your eyes, we call it dead eyes. It actually decreases the trust. If you want to make someone look like a serial killer on film, you light them from above without any sort of light in their eyes, so their eyes look like hollow sockets. So frame yourself with your eyes above the third. Make sure there's some light in your eyes. Now, third, but equally important, we'll actually forgive not so great video. We will not forgive not so great sound. So I see you have your headphones in, probably using that as a microphone as well. Earbuds.
No, I got a Rodecaster right here.
Okay,
So
great.
these are just for blocking out noise.
Fantastic. I couldn't see it. It was off camera, which is great. Doesn't have to be in the frame, doesn't have to be out of the frame. But you want to use a microphone of some sort. On your phone, if you're using your phone, you could even use earbuds plugged in. You can use wireless earbuds. On your laptop, if you're recording there, there's a lot of plug-and-play microphones that are available that don't require tons of software. I love the Elgato line of products, just personally. They're a little higher end. They're not inexpensive, but the quality of the products are fantastic. I use their lights. I use their microphone. So to review, get your eyes above a third, make sure there's light in your eyes, and make sure that we can hear you clearly, because we'll forgive not so great looking video, but we won't forgive not so great sound.
All right. Now, I know that you specialize in remote video marketing. And can you just walk me through that? Because it seems like impossible to me to actually be able to help somebody remotely with their video marketing. So talk to me about how you work with clients a little bit.
Yeah, it was impossible not too long ago. And it's only possible because of a platform I use called Riverside.fm. I discovered Riverside when we needed to bring in some speakers in a secure way, in a studio quality way, for a hybrid meeting for the CIO group I used to work with. And they were one of the few people that actually fit the bill. So this is like, I think, 2021 when we were doing these hybrid meetings. Then I went away from the platform, and then I had a software development company come to Soho Creative, and they wanted to do a video marketing campaign, but they have a completely dispersed workforce. It's all remote. So they're like, well, how can we do this? And I thought to myself, I'm not sure. Let me do some research. And I thought of Riverside. And the good news is Riverside had continued to develop their platform. So the way that it becomes possible over Riverside, they have a really unique setup where it doesn't rely on a good internet connection. It's kind of taken off the table. So as I'm recording with my clients, it's as if I'm in the room with them recording on a separate device. So what happens is the signal goes to your cache and then goes up. So you can get up to 4K quality video on the Riverside platform, 48 hertz sound. You get really studio quality across the board. So I'm able to do this. And I was actually just on a call yesterday with a client. She was laying down a video. She's got her 4K webcam. She's got an Elgato microphone, some great lighting. And then I'm there with her on the Riverside platform. And the cool part about the platform is I'm not being recorded. So I'm there as a producer saying, okay, try it again this way. All right, maybe this way. Now, she's the only one that's being recorded. And the really cool part about it is when we're done, we're done. I've got a HD, high quality audio and video. Now, you can use any camera you want with this platform. So if someone wants to set up a cinema camera, they can do that. There's no limit. I like this idea, and we offer this. So we've gone to this being our core offering. We actually do very little in-person production. It lowers costs tremendously. Even just flying someone out is thousands of dollars in a hotel. Secondly, the pace of content and then being able to repurpose that content is tremendous. So one video a month doesn't really cut it anymore. You're going to have to be a little bit more visible than that. And then also what I'm able to do directly on the platform is edit through a transcript. So I'm able to edit just from the words. So it really shortens the amount of time where I don't have to sit there and listen to 2 hours of footage. I can just look at the transcript. And I can also take the transcript into AI and go, okay, is there anything redundant here? Are we following the SCQA? And then really hone in on the message and edit it in a way that's going to be super effective. But Riverside is something that's a really incredible platform used by very large enterprise companies. So we use it for remote video marketing and also for video podcasts for companies.
It sounds pretty awesome. It sounds also like there may be certain types of videos that Riverside would perform well for, and maybe some others where it just wouldn't be appropriate. You know, maybe moving cameras might be difficult or something like that. What are some of the best use cases for something like Riverside and remote video production for a dispersed team? And what are some ones that probably aren't going to work as well?
Okay, I'll start with the aren't going to work as well. If you're going to do multiple camera setups with world-class lighting and national commercial level production, you're probably not going to use Riverside. It's just kind of off the table. So that's one reason not to use Riverside. If you want to be in the room with the person you're filming, for whatever reason that might be, you're not going to want to use Riverside. What you would use Riverside for is if you want to record and not be in the room. You don't want to fly somebody out. You don't want to spend the tens of thousands of dollars it's going to cost to bring in a production team. You would use it for a podcast, for a video podcast. You would use it to record an hour of content and then parse that up into 5-minute clips. So I would say, to summarize, in the room, if you want to be in the room with your client and there's a bunch of people that need to be in the room deciding on things, you got to be in the room. Or if you want like super high quality production where you've got, cinema cameras and high-end lights and sound and stuff like that, probably not Riverside. Riverside's more ideal for really good production remotely, which depending upon who you are, this suffices a lot across the board, because you've got enterprise level companies just using their phone now to post stuff on social media. They're not even, Nike's not even trying. It's like they want things to look not overly produced. And it's a fad.
Yeah, exactly. So you worked on a lot of different campaigns for a wide variety of companies. Can you give us an example of one that you thought was really successful as far as the marketing campaign went? And why do you feel that way? What made it successful in your eyes?
We did a campaign for the city of Portsmouth, an employer branding video. So the city of Portsmouth was having a hard time hiring because they're a municipality and they don't have tons of money to throw at people like most municipalities. So our process when we do these employer brand videos is first to survey the employees. And we surveyed 90 employees and asked them all the same questions. Now, these are not yes or no questions. These are questions that they're going to need to weigh in on. Like, give me the top reason why you like working for the city of Portsmouth. So from there, we analyze all that information that we get from them, and then we identify what like the top 3 to 5 most common themes are. And then we go back to the client, went back to the city of Portsmouth, and said, okay, these are the 3 to 5 most common themes. Here's our data to back it up. And they're like, great, this actually aligns with what we're already saying. So from there, we created a script for them. We said, okay, are there like 5 or 6 people that can get on camera? And this was actually in-person camera. This wasn't over Riverside, to talk about these things. Then we, again, went in person. We asked them very, very pointed questions. It went very, very well. Then we were able to put together a video it did 2 things for the city of Portsmouth. It honed in on who would be the exact right fit, and then it also repelled the people that would not be the right fit. At the end of the day, the city couldn't have been more happy with our work. And now they've got a video living on their website and for all their hiring pages that if someone wants to work with the city of Portsmouth, they get to hear firsthand from the employees why they work in a very honest way. These are not actors. A lot of them were very, very nervous, but they were also very, very honest. And we consider that a success because the city was really happy. It's going to live there forever. And the fact is that I think the number is 78% of potential employees would believe another potential employee over anything that the company organization says. So I would say that was a really good example of a home run for us, where we were very intentional about what we're doing, and the process was validated in that sense, which was great.
Very cool. So we've talked a lot about some of the frameworks and the basics and the things that we should be thinking about almost from a more mechanical standpoint. But you did talk a little bit earlier on about Barbara Minto and the pyramid, 3C, and I think it was the SCQA method. Can you give us a little bit more context? So as you're approaching a project, whether it's for yourself or for a client, what are some of the engagement elements, or what are some of the other things that make you move away from technical to help us really create that video that's going to grab somebody and help us achieve our marketing goals?
So we work mostly with subject matter experts. So we like to say we help you leverage your human capital. Now, these subject matter experts are not necessarily performers or comfortable on camera. So it's our job to help them be just that. Take your subject matter experts and I want to turn them into movie stars. So one of the ways that we do this is we use the SCQA format. So I'll think of a topic here. We were talking about app development or something like that, or something about app development and how to shorten the time to market. So the first thing I do is I get on with a subject matter expert and we SCQA and Minto pyramid it. So I'm like, what's the situation? What does everybody have to know before they're going to understand this? What's the problem that's come up? Complication? What question has arisen? And what's the solution to the problem? Then we go through this SCQA. So once I have the SCQA, and it's great because you have to make logical arguments. The SCQA Minto pyramid is fantastic because it checks your logic. And if it's illogical, you have to keep working until it's logical. So once I have that, it's really cool because then I'm able to birth questions from this. So what happens is I have a format now, a predictable structure that human beings love to listen to because it's in a pyramid. So what I do is I'm able to get on with the subject matter expert. And I like to say an effective video or presentation is really just a bunch of answers to a bunch of questions. So where the predictability comes in is we know what the structure is going to be. But I ask them the question in the moment. And because they're a subject matter expert, they're able to just give me an answer right there, and not a preconceived thing. So this is where these two things come together. I'm like, what would be the best way, or what is one big thing an organization can do to shorten the time span for app development, in your opinion? And then they just go and I talk. So we're getting clear, real information, but they're not reading from a script. But they feel supported because they know what the questions are going to be. I'm there with them. So I think that's probably the best example that I know of in the moment, where you're being intentional, but at the same time, you're leaving a little bit of room just to answer the question because you're a subject matter expert. And assuming, of course, you have to know what you're talking about. This only works if you are a subject matter expert. And we have to stick within the bounds of your expertise, of course. And I'll say that a lot of times they'll get very nervous and want to read. I'm like, you know what you're doing. It's okay. Like, just give it to me. And I would say to anybody listening, you don't have to get every tidbit in there. And I understand some things are highly technical. We work with blockchain companies, we work with tech companies, where I understand this is not just cut and dry answers necessarily. But I would say for each video that you do, you could only ever have one takeaway. One, singular one. This is why you should go see Barbie. This is why you should go see another movie. That's the takeaway. And then why and how, you can have a lot of that, but it can only be one singular takeaway. I think where we go wrong is where we want to make multiple points or multiple suggestions. It's just one takeaway. Disney should do another theme park in this place here at this time. Now argue why, or how are you going to do that? Yeah, was that?
No, I think that was really helpful. The one other thing that I'm trying to think about, though, is like you mentioned Barbara Minto and the pyramid. And it almost reminds me of like old school newspaper writing, where you put the most important things first because you never know where the editor is going to cut you off. So the end of the article is usually a little more loosey-goosey. So everything's up front, so people only read one paragraph. So with that in mind, and that does sound like the Minto pyramid approach, what are some things that we can do at the beginning of a video that are going to get people to stick around for the whole video?
Open a story gap. Open a story gap in some way. In this video, I'm going to talk about the easiest way to make $100 million in 3 weeks.
Right.
What? How, man? Us human beings demand to know why or how. So I would say your first line is going to be the main point. Now, it's also being compassionate and considerate of your audience's time, because you're stating what the topic is going to be. And if I'm not interested in gaining 50 pounds of muscle in 3 weeks, we're done. Don't make me wait to the end to find out that this is what it's about. State that bold story gap in the beginning. Here's why you should see Barbie over Oppenheimer. Or I'm going to give you 3 reasons why Barbie was a better film than Oppenheimer. Or let me give you the top 3 reasons why, if you only had to pick one of the films, you should see this one. Now I can decide as an audience member, do I want to keep listening or not? So I know right away what the topic is. But at the same time as when you're producing a video, you are opening a story gap there. And you're right, it does have to come early. And these, what do you call, inciting incidents, come very early on, 7 minutes into a film or something. I forget what the stat is, but very, very quickly, a problem arises where we go, oh, heck, what's going to happen?
So as we're thinking about this, we've talked about some technical stuff, we've talked about some emotional stuff, and how we create the videos. At the end of the day, how can we determine if the video marketing campaigns were successful? What are some of the KPIs that your clients look for to be like, this was money well spent, this helped me accomplish my objectives?
I had a client say to me one time, I need to have a tree fall in my yard that I didn't chop down, meaning that my marketing needs to do the work for me and not have me out there doing it. So I'd really say that for us, usually the main KPI is brand awareness that equated to a new lead, and somehow looking on the back end to see that, whether it was a LinkedIn video or something on YouTube, or in the case of employer branding, what inspired you to reach out? So for the city of Portsmouth, we'll take them as an example. One of the questions they have now as a KPI is, what inspired you to reach out? And one of the answers is the video. So seeing what percentage of applicants had seen and or were inspired to reach out because of the video was a KPI to go, okay, great. This is something that caused them. So really at the end of the day, I know that there's the old John Wanamaker quote of, half the money I spend on advertising is wasted, but I don't know what half. So Sometimes it can be hard to measure, and I'm not going to say that it's not. But I would say looking at the back end to try to understand and be very, very specific that, okay, this was connected to this lead, this was connected to this call, so we know we're doing the right thing. Now, for B2B, where it's not an e-com business, where you're not talking about like click-through rates in the hundreds of thousands kind of thing, it's not anywhere near that. It's sometimes more of a roundabout way. It's just this supporting kind of thing, and it can be hard to measure. Like in an employer branding video, unless they're like ticking that box, it's hard to know if it did have an effect. But I would say the big question to ask in the beginning is, what business problem are you trying to solve? And then work backwards from that. So is it the best video marketing solution for the right business problem? And what are the expectations around that? So I would say if you're looking at a video marketing campaign, what's the real business problem you're trying to solve? And can this actually solve that problem for you? For the city of Portsmouth, it was really like brand awareness around who they were and trying to filter the applicants. And from them, it's working. But it's hard to put a dollar amount on it. It can be hard to know. I'll be honest about it. It's hard to know. But we're not a video marketing firm that does e-com. So we're not somebody that's going to be running Google Ads for you, looking at very, very, very large cross sections of data. It's not going to be like that. You're going to look at the engagement. Someone might have reached out from a video. If you're B2B, yeah, again, another longer answer to your short question, but I hope that was helpful.
That was great. And just one last question as we're thinking about this. So it seems like most of the video that you're talking about, certainly most of the video I consume these days and create, is for social media or at least the web. It's going to go on my website. It'll go on YouTube. You mentioned Instagram, LinkedIn, so on and so forth. I know for me, one of the things that I've been using more often recently is running things through a tool called Kapwing, which puts in the dynamic captions because so often people have their audio turned off. Are there anything like that or other recommendations that you feel people should be considering if they're creating video for quick consumption or for social media?
Opus Clip, do you know that platform?
I do. It's like Kapwing, and I know everybody uses Opus Clip. I think I tried Kapwing first, and it has more controls on the back end. Because when I tried Opus Clip, I felt like my hands were tied, but everybody does seem to love Opus Clip updates. So there you go.
Opus Clip is one. Riverside does it internally now. So we can do the whole thing on Riverside. But Opus Clip works. What was the one you mentioned that I might
know? It's called Kapwing. I did not name it. It's Kapwing. Apparently, it's named after a sound effect from the Calvin and Hobbes comic strip from years ago.
That's awesome.
But it's just, it works like a lot of these. There's an AI tool. It grabs the best parts and then, like, say, an interview like this, and then basically gives you a rough draft of the video that you can either accept or tweak some more.
Yeah, can I say one more thing?
Of course.
You still have to be careful because if you become wholly reliant on the AI, you might miss a really great moment in your video. So I would say, like with any AI, like what's the Russian, trust but verify. I would say with your AI and using in video, trust but verify because you really don't want to miss a great moment. One of the ways that we make sure we don't do this is when we're using Riverside, you can mark in real time when someone hit a really cool point. So if I'm flowing, ooh, that's awesome. I literally just hit the M button on the keyboard. And what it does is it marks 15 seconds before and 15 seconds after. So I make sure that I didn't miss a key thing. And a lot of times you'll have it run the magic clips or whatever, and it excludes that. And you're like, oh, no, that was something that's important. So I would say when you're doing this, pay close attention in the moment to save yourself some time. Oh, like here, like 1 minute in, like that was something that's good. Run your magic clips. Let AI, run with it because it's going to find stuff that you never thought of as well. But at the same time, make sure that you're not overlooking some things that you know as a subject matter expert or whomever that could be potentially helpful to your audience.
Yeah, I don't have Riverside, so I don't have that exact tool, but I do make notes as we're going along. So when you say something that's absolutely brilliant, Michael, I just make a little note so I can find it later on in the transcript.
But that was a very short transcript you held up.
Yeah, well, I have shorthand.
Okay.
I mean, I got to let AI do something, right? I can't do all of this.
Of course.
Michael, this has been great. If people want to learn more about you or more about Soho Creative Studio, where can we send them online?
SohoCreativeStudio.com. And I'm also very active on LinkedIn, Michael Cinquino. There's not many of us. And then on Instagram, I'm also very active daily, Michael Cinquino, all one word as well.
Awesome. And we'll have those links in the show notes. Michael, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Rich, it's my pleasure, man. Thanks for having me on.
Lots of great content from Michael. Really enjoyed talking to him. Hope you got a lot out of this episode too. If you want a full transcript of today's episode or just the highlights, we've got them all at our website at theagentsofchange.com/548. You'll also find links to all of Michael's content as well. You'll definitely want to check that out. And while you're at the website, be sure to check out all the information about our upcoming 10th annual Agents of Change Digital Marketing Conference. Reserve your spot. I'd love to see you here in Portland, Maine, but we do have a digital pass for those of you who just can't make it, and it's a very affordable option. Not only can you watch the live feed of the main stage, but you'll get every session available to you on demand for a full year. So make sure you check that out. And also be sure to check in with me on LinkedIn. I am the Rich Brooks on LinkedIn and every other platform, but LinkedIn is where I spend most of my time. I'd love to connect with you, hear what you like about the show, get any critical feedback you might have, and just make that connection. So again, I'll see you on LinkedIn, and remain an agent of change.
Don't miss another thrilling episode of the Agents of Change podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform.